Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see everybody. Sorry, I've been dealing with technology in the background here. So um, we are live stream on YouTube. So I'm just sort of dealing with a few little things here. There we go. So hello and welcome. We are recording on Zoom and live stream. So just first thing I would like to say is if anybody doesn't want to be recorded, just to turn off your videos. But before that, welcome, Reverend Teresa Curry. We are excited to have you here with us this morning and look forward to chatting with you. And lots of familiar faces. Thanks for being here. And hello to those who are on live stream with us or listening. We'll be listening to the recording. So I'm going to hit record now to prepare you. And any opening comments, questions, any tech issues I need to know about before I hit record? Oh, good. Koryanka's there to join us. All right, so I'm going to hit record. Good morning. This is Soul School Network for Sunday, April the 28th. My name is Susan Hagar, and I am one of the Soul School Network facilitators. And joining me from Tell Me Kavita is in India. Kavita Bird is another facilitator. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you, Kavita?
I'm actually back in Thailand now.
Oh, in Thailand. We can't keep up with
Yeah,
you.
hard to keep up with me.
For you. And good morning, Michael, also a facilitator.
Good morning.
And we are in the Sacred Valley of Peru, and our friend Koryanka. Good morning, Koryanka.
Good morning.
Also in the Sacred Valley of Peru. And Greg, who is, I guess, on YouTube live stream, he is our technical wizard with the website and all other things in the background. Thank you, Greg. In the background of Koryanka is Peter, who's always there and very helpful in our contemplation around Soul School Network. And Dan Keto is off doing ceremony, I believe. And so you'll see Dan and Koryanka in a conversation in 2 weeks from now, speaking about plant medicine. So I hope you can join us because I think it'll be a great, interesting conversation with probably varied perspectives. So as you know, Soul School Network's really about personal and planetary transformation. And so we're going to have a conversation this morning with Reverend Teresa Curry. And I'd just like to read your bio first so our community knows a little bit about you. Reverend Teresa Curry is a licensed and ordained Unity minister. She graduated from the Unity Urban Ministerial School in 2017, completed a one-year internship, and was ordained in 2018. She served as an affiliate minister at Unity of Daytona Beach, Florida from 2017 to 2020. And in December 2020, she accepted the position of senior minister at Unity of Daytona Beach. And she served in this position through until February 2024. So she's on a new adventure now, starting in the last couple of months and moving and all of that fun stuff going on. Teresa is a lifelong truth student, a participant in the Extraordinary Leaders Program with Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, and was recently elected to the Southeast Unity Ministries, Inc. Regional Executive Team. Her spiritual awakening began in the rooms of the 12-step program of Al-Anon in 1994. Reverend Teresa's mission is to inspire personal responsibility, accountability, and empowerment for all. She believes that this is the time of greater spiritual awakening personally and globally. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with us. So thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you.
Teresa.
Thank you.
And we're so pleased to have you here with us. And the topic of You Are the Ripple in the Pond. Sure, it's a big topic. There's a lot of ripples in the pond. And Teresa and I know each other for a few years through Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, who is our teacher for both of us. Martha will be here with us on August the 4th. She had to reschedule because of the loss of a friend, and so we will see her another time. So, Teresa, you know, it is an exciting time, you were saying before we started recording this morning. And so maybe you can start out telling us a bit about how you arrived at your spiritual path.
Yes. Well, first of all, again, let me just say thank you, Susan, for, creating space for this invitation for me to be here with all of you. Excuse me, and all of you involved here in this Soul School network. So I thank you for your endeavors and the work that you're doing here together. So like I was saying to you earlier before we started the recording, I believe it's no small thing for all of us to endeavor to create and work together in that consciousness of creating a greater good. So truly, thank you all for being here and for the work that you're all doing together, as well as what you're doing individually. So my heart to yours, I believe it all matters in a great, great way. So truly, thank you. Excuse me. As I was saying, or as Susan read in my bio, my spiritual awakening came through the rooms of Al-Anon 12-step program. I don't know how many of you may be familiar with 12 steps. Everybody starts to nod, right? Before that, I would say that one of the biggest things that happened for me there in those rooms that caused me to come back again and again was this feeling of hope. A feeling of hope that something, I had been doing battle with the disease of alcoholism in my spouse at the time and was losing a dreadful battle and not realizing at all the role that I was playing in that as the codependent. So that awakening was, it was pain was the motivating factor. Let me just say that, how many of us here have ever gone to seek counseling and things like that? And believe it or not, it was a 2-year process of her telling me, go to Al-Anon before I finally went to Al-Anon. So yes, and I'm forever grateful for that. It was there that I learned, and I'm going to use language, in this human endeavor, we use language to try to describe things. So I just want to say this, by whatever name you call your higher power, your creator, the universe, the divine love, whatever works for you is perfectly fine with me. You'll probably hear me refer to God, higher power, divine, all of that. But, that's language. So I just invite us not to put too much into that. So, but for me, it was understanding that I am a child of God. And I came into those rooms feeling pretty beat up, full of full of some shame and some guilt that I simply could not make this work. And I have a child in this marriage, and what now, kind of a thing. So it took me years, honestly. I felt like I went in there with my head hanging down until I could come to realize that, I'm a child of God, and there's that spark of divinity within me. And my life and everyone else's life, I believe, is meant for good. Now, what can I do with that? So I needed some practical tools to work with, and, had a loving sponsor that helped me through this program to where I could once again lift my head up. And from the 12-step program, I was introduced into unity. So I like to say, or what I feel is that my spiritual awakening came through that 12-step program. And my spiritual maturity took off with unity and much of the other work that I have done in my life there throughout, It's been quite the journey. I got into Al-Anon in my 30s. So I'm like 3 decades past that now. So, but it's been a beautiful journey. So I'm here to share my experience, strength, and hope with all that who care to know and hear about all of this, which is all of us, or we wouldn't be here together today, right? So, it was unity that taught me that I had been born in original goodness. And I didn't know that prior to that. It was kind of carrying a lot of that baggage around of, God, how could I measure up? How could I be a little bit better? It was that eternal striving of my best is not good enough, which sounds like what? Your best is not good enough. But carrying that around like that monkey on your back until having awakening, a realization of knowing of that, hey, I live in a universe that I believe is conspiring for my good. And I live in a universe that I believe is benevolent. How do I stay in alignment with that? What practical tools can I use on a daily basis to stay in alignment with that? Because I believe that what happens when I'm in alignment with that, and we want to talk a little bit about consciousness, that when I'm in that place of consciousness and we talk about the energy that each of us are and that our vibration matters, it's when I'm in that vibration of good that I'm in alignment with my source, and I become that ripple in the pond. And that's my desire. My sponsor used to say to me, look down and see where your feet are. Look down and see where your feet are, because this is where I am today. And if I can take enough time to stay out of my past and not project into my future, and I embrace this energy, this powerful, that's energy right here for us today, that's my point of power. Now, you'll have to stop me, Susan, because don't let a minister start talking. They'll just go on and on. But this excites me. It's my passion. I'm grateful to be here. And it's all of that brings us to our point where we are here today. And, the beauty of that ripple is it's not just where we go in the pond, if you will. It's that ripple, that point. Yes, that's where we go in, but that ripple is so far reaching. And every day I have a choice. What do I want that outreaching to be? What choices will I make for myself today? To be in remembering, the 12-step program will say, hey, I have a built-in forgetter. And I think that that's easy in our humanity, because I also believe that we're divine beings. We're spiritual beings having this human experience. But in this human experience, I can get clued into my senses and forget that there's so much more here for me to see than just what these physical eyes want to show me. So, all right, Susan, you stop.
Sure. Well, I'm thinking how valuable your past is, really, because going through difficult times like that brings you out with you said about having your head, hanging down. I think there's a lot of people with their head hanging down these days, for good reason. Challenging times on so many levels, which we could talk about. We have on our previous sessions, we've been talking about, is it the apocalypse or is it the awakening? And so you've come through, it was pivotal, those teachings to who you are in this moment today, right? And your presence and your impact, your ripple effect, if you will. And what would you say to people, though, who are, have their head hanging down and they're looking, to rise up at this time? How do you see this time, and what would you say to them?
I would say, we have to start right where we are, and I think compassion is a huge piece of this puzzle. I feel compassion for ourselves as well as compassion for one another, and have some compassion for wherever you are on your journey right now, and I think a knowing that I believe that we live from the inside out. And if I can create just an opening, like that hope that I spoke about in Al-Anon that I experienced, that just was just enough to keep me going on, is to share some hope that we do live from the inside out, from that place of I believe, our divinity. And I think to create an opening in our minds to know that there's more than just what we feel is happening right now in this physical world is what I want to say. And then how do I do that? When I first started this process, it was difficult for me to even sit still for 5 minutes. Now we all can sit here today, probably most of us, and go 5 minutes. That's like nothing anymore. But in the beginning, I had to do something to get quiet, to stop for just a moment, to come home to myself again. Now, I didn't know all that was going on at the time, mind you, but I had to start somewhere, and I would start small. So, and I believe it's to get quiet, because this mind, I don't know about your mind, but my mind will keep me very busy. It will keep me very busy, and it will keep me distracted. If we go through and look at all of the master teachers that have made such significant, add such spiritual teachings for all of us, wherever you fall in any of those world religions or whatever spiritual practices you have, part of the commonality is to come apart for a while. Just come apart for a while, get a little bit of relief, because one of the things I heard early on in this is, where am I living? Am I living in the solution, or am I living in the problem? And that's not for me to bury my head and pretend that life's not happening. But again, I have to make a choice for myself. And I want to try to come, when I can, from that higher vibration, that higher energetic vibration, by whatever means I can get there, and come from that place to try to take my next right actions. Because I think that, it's no accident that I'm here with you all today, as well as in a process. And I shared with Susan when we were talking that involved in a study from a Unity minister, and his book is called The Gatherings of the Few, A Guide to Global Spiritual Awakening. So it's no accident that so many of these things are showing up for us today, because if all I'm going to do is to look at the world through these physical eyes, it's too much. It's too much for me. So it's like when my spiritual path began, they talked about it's like peeling that onion, and you can use whatever example or metaphor for that you like, but it's peeling that piece off one at a time. It's like I couldn't look at the whole situation, what was going on in my life at the time, but I could look at little pieces to make it a little bit doable, palatable for me, so that I could make a conscious choice rather than being so reactive. It was very reactive to the next piece of stimulus, whatever that piece of stimulus may have been, whether it's reacting to news or the things that are going on in the world, or what was going on in my own home at the time. That dysfunction. How can I come back home to me and respond to life rather than just constantly reacting to life? So we start where we are.
Right. And so that's a book you just mentioned, A Guide to Global Spiritual Awakening?
Yes, it is. It's called The Gatherings. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see. I guess you can't see it or not, can you?
Oh, when you hold it really down, we can. This is by Jim Rosemergy. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I see it.
Can you see it?
Uh-huh. Okay. And
Beautiful.
so, do you see it that way, that we're into a global spiritual awakening? Obviously, Jim does.
Yes. I absolutely do. You know, I just came off of a conference, and it was with numerous ministers and licensed Unity teachers and things of that sort. And part of that opening was we were asked, you know, how are we dealing with all that's going on in the world? Because as you might imagine, we're dealing with ourselves and how we're feeling about it, but we're also dealing with all the congregants and different folks that come to us looking for some guidance and things of that nature. And so one of the things, and I keep going back to this, is I believe that we have to look at our own self-care. Like, what are we doing with our own self-care? And to make that a priority. Because that's I believe that's where all of this awakening will come from. You know, it was each individual spiritual masters that came through with their awakening, sharing their, if you will, experience, strength, and hope with us that's still making a difference in all of our lives today, I believe, all those thousands of years ago. So let me never underestimate the power of each of us as an individual, and then come together with those gatherings of us, of lifting up this consciousness to make a difference, if you will, in the big cosmic soup, you know, and help to be that difference in the consciousness that's running the show, if you will.
It's all energy, right? And
Mhm.
so, you know,
'Cause
what
if-
we're thinking, what we're believing.
If we were to look at ourselves as a tuning fork, you know, we're this energy, we have this vibration, and we're like these tuning forks. You know, what are we putting out? What are we putting out in the world? You know, it's very easy, isn't it, to look at what's not working, and it's so easy to jump on that bandwagon of, ain't it awful, you know? And that's not to whitewash over a lot of the atrocities that are going on in this world by any stretch. But when I come from that place, that energetic vibration, that lower energetic vibration versus that higher energetic vibration of what went well, not only what went well in my own personal world, in my own personal thinking, you know, even if I took that space where I took a moment of a powerful pause before I responded to somebody, because they touched something within me that stirred me up. And how I really wanted to respond was, well, let me tell you. But even that place where I took a moment of a powerful pause to not to make a choice again of what energy, what ripple will I put out in the universe by my actions, by my thoughts, by my deeds. And I do believe that more of this is going on, just like your Soul School Network is showing up. There's different groups all over the place. You know, the work that we're doing, Susan, you know, and have been doing for a while with Martha Creek and all those different lives that are being touched by that. So I do believe it is a time of awakening. And I do believe that it's challenging not to get distracted.
Right. And of course, that's the beauty of the work with Martha, is to all the tools and so on. We've been studying internal family systems. Some of you may have heard of Richard Schwartz and No Bad Parts and so on. And you know, that's really brought a lot of relief. If anybody here hasn't heard of it, have a look at it. Because, you know, rather than pathologizing people's thoughts and feelings and experience, which the system wants to do, and to medicate and everything else, is to really, you know, build the compassion for all these parts of ourselves that are coming up, and not to be rejecting them, but to be embracing as more of a healing path, because for all that we're looking at in the world, there's a lot of things to be uncomfortable with, feel bad about, sad about, angry about, having all these parts of ourselves. And so as I think about the ripple effect, if I'm not feeling good about myself, then I'm not having, the impact that I really would want to be having on those around me and the world, really. And so, yeah, I'd be interested to know, Teresa, your experience of working with, this model of our parts to bring us some kind of relief to a lot of the feelings we're having these days.
Mhm. And I think, thank you for that. I think where we start is with some simplicity. And I think that's inquiry, a little inquiry within, like, how am I doing today? How am I doing? How am I feeling? What's going on with me today? Because I believe, back in the program, they talked about the 3 A's, and it was awareness, acceptance, and action. And that very first A is talking about awareness. And then we hear that throughout all of our work that we do with Martha as well. It's like waking up to self, waking up to self, if you want to call it self-actualization, self-realization, or simply just inquiry. If we just take a moment to say, hey, what's going on in here? Because without awareness, what am I going to do with that? Without awareness, I spend all of my time looking in the outer condition instead of looking within. How many of us have spent a long, long time looking outside of ourselves, wanting something outside of ourselves to change so that we could feel better? Well, it doesn't work like that, at least my experience of it. I have to work from the inside out. And it's also not running, and this is where the real work starts to come in, right? Not running from our fears. And heaven knows there's enough fear going on to, anyway, I'll leave that alone. You all know that. My own personal fears, if I look deep down at most of the things that are causing me any sort of distress or dis-ease, the root of it all is fear somewhere. Course in Miracles, if you're familiar with any of that, often talks about that it's either fear or love. But most of my dis-ease, like I said, when I sort through it all, I get down to the very bottom of it. There's some fear in there. So having that willingness, they used to say, talk a little bit about, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's having that moment of several moments, I would say. First of all, knowing that you're worth it, to look at all of that, and to know that even to have, as we started to study some of those parts, Susan, is, to know that those places in us that stir up things that I tell my daughter when I was raising her and she was little, anything that's giving you yuckies, anything in there that's giving you yuckies, to have the willingness to look at it. What's going on with me instead of what's going on with them that's causing this in me. Stop pointing my fingers and my attention outward, and just to notice that, to go in with that inquiry, which is really what all of this work, I believe, is about. And I think as we progress on this journey, we come into that realization, that knowing the truth of who we really are, which I believe is divine, by whatever name you want to call it. But it's coming back home to our own divinity. I used to think about it's like walking through life with like a Velcro suit on and everything just sort of sticks to you. And now I'm just trying to pull all that stuff off of me. It's that process of letting go, that process of letting go. What is no longer serving me in my highest and best? I want to let go of that. But I also have to have some awareness of what that is, and coming to grips with, there's a book that we've talked about many years ago in Unity called The Eye of the Storm. And there's a place in there that says nothing and no one is against you. Well, for some of us, that's a pretty hard pill to swallow, huh? Nothing and no one is against me. How do I know that all of this showed up for my good? It's part of my spiritual evolution or my evolution in consciousness. I mean, just for some people to have that thought is pretty big, you know? And I didn't get to that thought out of the gate right away, mind you. It has been that journey, that evolution, because it goes right back to that peeling of the onion. If I had to try to even contemplate that in the beginning of this awakening, I would have, I didn't even know what they were talking about when they started talking about consciousness. But to have that realization that, we often talk as well about our ego. It's even to know that ego is here for us, that our personality versus our spirituality is here for us as well. It's how we're learning, it's how we're growing. Now, there's pieces and parts of me that I wish they'd hurry up and grow up, but it's letting go of that resistance. So I'm sure all of you have experienced, the longer I resist something, we say that, right? What we resist persists. So the longer I resist looking at whatever is showing up in front of me, it's staying there. I can try to outmaneuver it. I can try to outthink it. I can try to over spiritualize it, but it's there for a reason. And I believe that reason is for my good. And we talk about that a little bit. We've done some work with David Hawkins through his book, Pathway to Surrender, Letting Go. And I don't know if this is a good time now or not, Susan, to put that up in the chat or wherever.
Sure.
Screen share it. It's a technique that was shared with him, and it sounds so simple. And what I do believe is that there is simplicity to it. My work is catching myself when I'm in it. And it's a letting go technique that helps us to let go of that resistance, so that it's almost like you can take a deep breath in, release your breath. And to me, I always say it's that as I release that breath where my shoulders can come down and I can let go of whatever it is in me that I'm resisting. To almost, he explains it well in there, and Susan's sharing that with us. It's like letting go of that resistance so I can allow that energy to pass through me. What can happen for me often is that resistance will show up, whatever's going on, and I'm resistant to it. Even if I'm resistant to fear itself, I'm resistant to it. And it's almost like my resistance keeps it within me longer, as if I'm holding on to it longer. The very thing I don't want ends up happening. Rather than having that compassion for self, that courage with self, say, hey, this is happening. I don't have to like it, mind you. It doesn't say anywhere in anything that I ever read that says I have to like any of this. Talks to me about awareness and acceptance of the fact that it's going on. And then to practice this technique of non-resistance, if you will, to allow that energy to pass on through me rather than it getting stuck in there. Michael Singer talks a lot about that in his Living Untethered. It's another book that we've engaged in. And he also has a lot of YouTube videos if you care to tune into any of those. But I found those very helpful in his explanation of it, and how all of that just gets stuck in our consciousness until we allow it to come on up, We're going to be all right, and let it pass on through us. And it's that stuck energy that holds us down, keeps us feeling separate, I believe, keeps us suffering, and keeps that dis-ease progressing. And it's played out in a myriad of ways, of which we're seeing on global levels.
Are we
I-
ever? Yeah, I mean, that's just it, you know? I mean, Martha, as she says, go within or go without, which is what you're saying, you know, it's an inner journey. And, you know, the high metaphysical teachings are, you know, this reality of subjective consciousness or yourself, capital S, and objective consciousness, you know, what you're looking at. And so without this healing, this internal work, then you know, what you're looking at, and therefore the ripple effect that you're having is based on these hurts and, you know, these things you haven't let go of, basically, you know, and the letting go process is quite profound. It looks simple, it isn't, to the extent that it sounds good, but letting go of some of these things is the thing to do, and maybe you have some advice on that process.
Well, what I want to say to you, and I know, and Susan has experienced it as well, I'm sure, is that it's not simple, but it's powerful. And I want to tell you that it works. And just I can hear Martha saying this as well. And that's what I love about these principles and spiritual principles, by whatever name you want to give them, they're truths and they work. And I invite you, what do we say? Don't believe me, try it for yourself, because that's the ticket, right? That's when you're going to know. It's not just about me. Of course, we come together to share our experience, strength, and hope with one another. But that empowerment piece is you trying it for yourself and then seeing that it works. And then that's when you get your aha moment, I feel. And then we try to go back and do it again. Now, I would like to tell you that I'm living in this surrendered, letting go state all the time, and that's absolutely not true. And it's when I awaken to it, right? And it's those places. And I believe that, you know, again, all of us going back to the fact of why we're here, except I believe to awaken, you know, that's ultimately why we're all here in this human form. And I lost where I was going with that. and to pay attention. Oh, and then what I wanted to say was, what happens is all this confusion starts in, doesn't it? We work with ourselves. If anyone's familiar with, you know, the mirroring techniques and things like that, and how mirroring works, everybody's smiling at me. You know, I have this piece within me that needs a little more healing and a little more light to be shined upon it. And then here comes Susan, and she pokes on that little, you know, Susan's just being Susan, but she pokes that little spot in me. And I'm thinking now it's Susan that's my problem, you know, rather than me taking that time to go in there and go, I wonder what's going on in there that feels that little poke when Susan talks about this, you know, or talks a little bit about whatever it is, my little open wound, if you will, that's going on in there, my little part that's going on in there that wants to protect me and things of that sort. So rather than closing down to that feeling, can I, you know, it's like a flower that's trying to bloom and bud right open, right? Can I, in that instance, rather than shutting down and allowing all my my resentments to show up? Well, if she hadn't said that to me, I wouldn't be feeling this way. You know, or, you know, these are some simple examples, but we know what goes on in there, that hurt, that fear, that can fester in there. And then all of our survival techniques that we've all conjured up through this life. You know, one of my big ones is avoid. Well, I'll just avoid that. I just won't talk to her anymore. then I won't have to feel that discomfort or that dis-ease. But can I go back and be like that flower and allow that bud to open back up again, and allow that light of truth to shine in there and to diminish some of that fear that keeps me from wanting to look within. And it says, hey, take a deep breath. You're all right. You're not alone. My higher self, my bigger self, talking in there to my smaller self saying, hey, I've got you. I've got you. I have fallen asleep at times, yes, but I want you to know that I'm here for you now. And you're not alone. And I appreciate you. How about even getting to that place where we could actually have a moment of gratitude for that showing up for us, when we can let go of that resistance and practice that letting go technique to have a realization, thank you for being here to me so that I can awaken a little bit more today. A little bit more today. So I'm not sure if
Yes.
that answered what you asked me, Susan, or not,
Thank
but that's
you.
where I went.
And more, and more. Thank you. Yeah, we did a ceremony here last night, and it was a letting go and a releasing little fire ceremony for Michael's birthday. And this letting go is clear, that Rumi thing about my wounds is where the light shines through, how it goes. And so there's a lot to let go of, and that technique does work if you work it, that's really the thing. There's a lot of great techniques out there, and you've got to do them, obviously, for them to work. And what we know is that where peace really begins is here, in our minds. And so this is while there's plenty to do physically, and there's so much, it's to not become overwhelmed with what would my choices be of what I could do in 3D ways. And where I really have the power is here, where I can have, peace within. Then, because this is where the first war is all these thoughts all day long, the monkey mind, the chat room, like you were saying about self-care, the condemnation, the whatever of myself, others, it's very fine work. It's very, you don't always see it, but it's this thing program running in the background that's bringing this suffering. And then this is the ripple effect I'm not looking to have, in the world. I want to have the peace here so that no matter what I'm looking at, and there's plenty of things to be distressed about, that I can be in alignment. That's the work I see, that I can have, where I can have power.
Absolutely. In Unity, we talk about the I am consciousness, or if you want to talk it about, spiritual enlightenment, whatever names you choose to give it. But part of that I am consciousness talks about what Unity's co-founder, Charles Fillmore, talked about, our 12 powers. And it was that knowing of coming into that place of consciousness, that in that place of consciousness, our highest level, there is no absence of any of these things that we're talking about. So Susan, you spurred that on for me when you talked about peace being here. It's to know, and maybe that's a hard thing for some of us to even contemplate right now, but that there is no absence of peace within us. There is no absence of wisdom within us. There is no absence of understanding, imagination, creativity, all of that in our higher self. So that's what that's all about. It's that tapping into all of those higher places within us that's already there. So like you said, Susan, so that war that wants to go on within our thinking mind, doesn't get gasoline poured on the fire, if you will, but to make that different choice that says, I believe it was Mother Teresa that said, when she was asked, would you come to an anti-war rally? And she was like, no, I don't want to go to an anti-war rally, but when you want to go for a peace rally, I'm ready to go there with you. And there is a difference in that, you know? And it's all, again, making that choices when we can in consciousness of how I want to be and show up in this world. So it is, I believe, that empowerment of, yes, let it begin with me. Let it begin with me.
So, Teresa, would you agree it's a conspiracy for our highest good, where we're watching this really painful time and dark time and watching, we've had some, we've all had some difficult times with our governments and the kind of leadership that we're witnessing, and, disturbing would be probably a big understatement. But I'll leave it at that. And so, do you think that people feeling upset, angry, is this maybe the passion behind some kind of positive change, even though it doesn't look like that right now? Because it is pretty hard to watch.
Yes, I agree. Well, I do believe that it can be. And I think every day we have a choice with that. I'm stirred up, I'm disturbed. What can I do with that? But I think that's part of it as well. I think that this disturbing energy that we may be feeling when I see something, I perceive some injustices, something unfair, we could talk about that all day long. There's no shortness of that to talk about. But again, it's, can I use that energy for good? How can I use that energy, that within me that's saying, hey, and I believe that that is for our good, that it's waking us up, right? It's getting our attention is what I'm trying to say. It's getting our attention for a reason, I believe. But how will I implement? How will I implement that? I don't want to be reactive to that. I want to make a choice of response from that, so I can come from my higher self and make a response to what I see going on. Now, how do I do that? Yes, we have to take some actions, but let my actions be for the good, the good that I know, what I believe is good, and not about making all others wrong. Can I come to a place where I could start to look for our similarities and look again for what's good? Because for me, I believe that's where I can take my most effective action. I can tell you all day long about the things I don't like that are going on. But I know that my point of power is going to be, what actions can I take for good? And if that action is simply that I'm choosing not to go to war with my neighbor, if you will, or whomever else it may be.
Thank you. Michael has his hands up. So, did you want to ask a question, Michael?
Yeah, actually, a combination of a question and a commentary. The first commentary I have is, I want to thank you deeply for such a beautiful message. Very touching to hear the consciousness of transformation coming from you, echoing all of our thoughts. You picked up on all of our thoughts, and it's very touching. Because the commentary I'd like to make is that this authenticity that comes through your message is where we need to go. And this is the unity of the consciousness that you're talking about. And I found something really interesting, a lot of stuff, but one most particularly was pause, the word pause. I think this is critical in understanding what you have to go through in order to change. that journey within. And it's all about pause. It's being able to stop and examine that you're at a road and examine that there's a choice at that critical moment. I think that's just reverberates through the message. There's a book by Ouspensky. It's entitled In Search of the Miraculous. And that's what we're doing. That's what the inner journey is. It's in search of the miraculous and the miracles within. It's not without. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. And may I just share too, and this excites me so I thank you for sharing that. So that's how I know it's the truth. But we are the miracle. We are the miracle. I pray if we awaken to anything, that we can awaken to that we are the miracle. And I believe we've been chosen. We've been chosen, or we wouldn't be gathering here together today in this way. And all of this work that you all are doing here with this Soul School network, but we are the miracle, and it's that all of those things that you shared, Michael, I just want to go, it's like my soul's doing a happy dance. Yes, yes, yes. But yes, we are the miracle. We are part of the great uprising for good, I believe.
I just
And our
wanted
light
to,
won't be diminished. I'm sorry.
oh no, thank you. Sorry, I thought you were finished.
It's okay.
Yes, Maureen's written, life is the initiation and the ritual. We are the medicine. Yes, thank you, Maureen. One of the Soul School Network community members had written in some questions, and not specifically for today, but one of her questions, she was really showing some really deep thinking around what's happening in the world. And she says, how do we take our internal learnings about consciousness, peace, and understanding into a physical world that can make it feel almost too dangerous to share? And is that even our responsibility? And I really think that how you would answer that today, and I'd love to hear what your closing comments would be. But I think that you would agree that it's our responsibility in terms of healing our minds and healing, doing the inner work. And so that, where she's asking the question, it might feel too dangerous to share. It may actually be or not, but as long as you're doing the inner work, then you can share where you can share, and there'll be people in your life and in your world who don't want to hear about a word about what you're saying on this spiritual journey you're on.
Yes, I agree, and I think that's a beautiful question and very relevant, obviously. But you know what I also want to share as well as, for me personally, I know it is my responsibility. Everybody has to answer that question for themselves. I don't ever profess to know what another individual needs to do. But what I do believe is we can start very small. And what I mean by that is we start with a smile. We start with, I'm inviting you to try this. Someone invited me to try this many, many years ago, and it was stunning. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll try it. Rather than when you're going out somewhere in your daily interactions and you want to say thank you to someone, if it's appropriate and you feel led to do so, because I think it's important to be authentic with it, is I appreciate you. And you can throw in I always say thank you, I appreciate you. And just watch. Just watch. People are stunned by that. Perhaps not us because of probably some of the circles that we travel in. But when you go out to the store and you're through your checkout line or whatever, just take an extra moment to say, I appreciate you. I believe that individuals which make up our world and make up this consciousness are crying for some love, some compassion, some understanding. And believe it or not, some folks may not receive a kind word for days. I don't know, but I know that I want to contribute, even in that small way, which I believe actually is not all that small. Again, it's part of our ripple. So what action can I take? What action can I take, and what action can I take in a way that's self-caring? Because do I need to stretch and expand? I believe I do. But I can start small. And that is no small thing. Because I'm taking a moment to step outside of me long enough to say, in a different way, perhaps, that I behold the divinity in you. And I want you to know I appreciate you. Now, I don't have to go, they all might look at us like this if I run around talking about the divinity within them. But, in some instances, I can. But I get to be selective about that.
Thank you. That's a beautiful message. I wonder if anybody else has any questions or comments for Reverend Teresa.
Can I say something here? It's Gail.
Sure. Hi, Gail.
Thank you so much. This is just so enlightening and so wonderful, Teresa.
Thank you.
What came to mind in that moment of what you've just said is more about discernment. I think what happens is that we pull back because not everybody's on the same page. And so we hold it. We hold it for ourselves. But we want to share it. But we need to choose, because there's a lot of people out there that don't get it. And so it's really nice to be amongst people who do get it. This ability to be consciously aware of where we are in the world, what we want to see in the world, how we want to be in the world, is a job, a daily job. But I think we need to discern who we share that with. And I really appreciate this platform. My heart is just like poof. So thank you so much. And I think we are the change that we want to see in the world. We are. This is us. This is what we need to do. However we do that, we all have our path and our ways of doing it. But we need to respect and discern how comfortable we are, because I think what happens is we kind of say, oh God, the whole world is going mad, and I don't want to go mad, so I'm just going to pull within and do what I need to do. But that needs to be shared. That needs to be shared with who you feel the discernment for, how that plays out. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just share this too. I know we're about to run out of time, perhaps. I'll just share this. May I learn to keep my heart open, I do believe that divine love in its highest form is our great harmonizer and healer. And yes, do I need to use discernment with what action I take to share that with? But I can still hold that truth in my heart always, because remember the power of prayer, the power of intention, the power of I don't have to say a word, the power of me sending good, loving energy to another being. They don't have to be anywhere near me. And that's a powerful action. The universe doesn't need my words, but we humans need it to try to communicate and all those sorts of things. But the universe does not need my words. My energy, my intentions. Yes.
Thank you.
How about these words? We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Do I have just another? Oh, no, is it time, Susan? I'll be quiet.
Well, I think you're gonna pray us out. Are you wishing
Yes, I
to
just
do
wanted to invite you if you have, Susan, do you have anything you want to share first before I?
Well, Reverend Teresa's going to do a closing prayer for us. And what I would like to do then is just, I'll let you go ahead and then I'll just make a few closing comments before I turn off the recording. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Oh,
I'm gonna remember, look down and see where my feet are. I'm gonna think about that one. And thank you for your message today. We appreciate you for sure. And I'll leave it to you to do a closing prayer. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you. It's been a joy and honor and a privilege to be here with you in this space in this way. So if you choose to, I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. I'm going to invite you into a few deep centering breaths. Maybe you inhale to a count of 4 and exhale to a count of 4. Maybe one more time with me. Inhale to a count of 4. And exhale to a count of 4. And if you choose, I invite you to take this in for yourself. And perhaps say it to yourself silently if you choose. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. They're okay. They're okay. They're okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Take a breath in and release that breath. And if you choose, we affirm together in a place of our highest self. Our deepest knowing is this: I am unlimited. I am infinite. I am compassion. I am sacred. I am the miracle.
I am the miracle.
I am forgiveness.
I am forgiveness.
I am divine.
Divine.
In this precious moment, I choose to hold myself and all beings everywhere in gentle peace. Gentle peace. Take a deep breath in. Release your breath. I invite you to notice how you feel. Just get a sense of it. And as we begin to come back to this place and this space, I want you to know that the divine in me sees, honors, and loves the divine in you. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
I thank you all for
Thank
your
you so
presence here.
much. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Teresa. Thank you so much. And I want to apologize to Koryanka. I completely forgot about the opening prayer. So, and my apologies to all of you. Anyhow, we will enjoy it next time for sure. And I want to thank you for being here. I know you have lots of choices on a Sunday morning, so thank you so much. Please do go to our website, Soul School Network and .com, and to our YouTube channel. We record all our sessions. We have a donate button there for those who have the means to support us. We have in 2 Sundays from now, we're going to hear about plant medicine with Koryanka and Dan. It should be a lively, fun conversation. So please join us for that. We always welcome your feedback. So any questions that come to mind or topics or speakers, we welcome them. And so thank you. I wish you all a wonderful Sunday and a week ahead. And anything you want to say, I'll turn off the recording now. Thank you so much for being with us, Teresa, and all of
Thank
you
you
here
all.
today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday, Michael. Happy birthday, Michael.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
thank you, everybody. Nice to see you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm Michelle. Bye.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Bye.
Morning, Kavita, we're having a hard time finding a Sunday that we can all be here for a meeting post Soul School Network. So maybe I'm thinking next one because Dan and Koryanka are presenting. Are you available in 2 weeks on Sunday? Oh, you're muted, Kavita.
I'll probably be. I can't say for sure, but I think I will.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. But
I would
what
just,
date
we'll
is-
see. That
what
would be
date is
the 12th of May.
12th of May. Okay,
Yeah.
I will. I'll try.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll maybe have a meeting then and go over a few things. Thank
Okay.
you
That was
very
a lovely
much.
session. That was a lovely session, by the way. With very, very touching. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Teresa's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, take care,
Right.
Kavita. Bye.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.